Hey guys, Tom here, also known as the viewer or the chosen one out of so many chosen ones. It's so hilarious whenever I'm looking at something that's pretty much gone the opposite path of me, and it refers to itself as a chosen one. Like, oh, we're just all the same, and that anything that anyone can do can be duplicated by another, because that's what they want to believe. But that's not the truth. And I think that's going to be proven shortly. Um, I used to respect and listen to quite often Mark Dice and Jesse Lee Peterson and uh, and there are several others that, but there are people that you think I'm looking at Mark and I'm seeing that he always honestly is wearing black, always, always, and I have to let it go sometimes whenever somebody's announcing themselves like that. I have to let it go because I do know that just because you're wearing black doesn't mean that you've got a black soul. Okay? Um, but I do know that it gets more and more suspicious. And especially, I was watching Mark the other day. I don't watch all his things, but a lot of stuff I'll tune in for. And it was day before yesterday, I think it was. Yeah, day before yesterday. And he went off again on one of his anti Semitic uh, type of speeches. And he was trying to soft approach. He was trying to softball that in. It's still the same damn garbage, though. And you can say what you want, and you can say, oh, well, basically, I think he's making the argument that, we shouldn't be involved in that. It's not our fight. The thing of it is, do we stand with any allies? Are we ideologically aligned with anyone? Because again, and this whole idea that the arrogance, the conceit that was demonstrated in that little speech where he was announcing that, basically the Jews aren't God's chosen people and that Christians replaced it. Uh, no, I think it would be best for people to understand that there is an actual distinction between the Father who created heaven and earth and his progeny. Okay? They are, in fact, probably somewhat different and a little bit separate. And I think that's the way it's supposed to go, isn't it? He's going to be sitting off to the right hand side of the Father, and they continue to replicate themselves probably in that fashion. But so the Jews that accept the new covenant with Christ, the born again Jews, and all the Gentiles all non-Jews who accept Christ and walk that path would be considered Christians and would be considered the property of Christ. He would be the ones who he would be taking care of them and seeing to their protection and removal from the darkness, etc., so on and so forth. Of course, the thing of it is with Christ, you have to walk that path. And they gloss over so much of it because you see people laughing and smiling and living life well, and they're being wholesome and shiny, happy people, and you don't know what they've had to go through to get there to be that, and you just think, well, a lot of people are drawn in thinking, well, Jesus is just the happy God. It's all peace and love and yay, and it's true, it really is. But depending on where you're coming from, uh, and your understanding will dictate how long you go from here to yay, it's all good. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I was listening to this black guy the other day who seems to be on the side of quote God unquote, but the way he was rattled on last night, it might be a different God instead of the white God, you know, and because they were talking about oh, this Christian God, like if that's a white God that was given to them, let me tell you, you want to be with the white God. That's the whole reason why the uh, black community exists in America. That was God's plan to rob from the devil a whole bunch of people who would not have had any other chance. And if you go and look at Africa, you'll understand that their problems are much deeper than any white oppression, and it's more about their own self-destruction um, through whatever mindset, okay, makes them feel that they have the superior viewpoint, and that's part of what happens. Whenever demons are running you, you're not operating on logic or anything like that. But in any case, let's move on. So the thing, and well, still with that though, the reason he was saying the black people have been praying and praying and praying for things to get better for them, but that white God didn't do it for me, and so then they tried Islam, them being Muslims, and then they didn't like that. That's not good. Um, and besides, that's a waste, man. You're just going to get used there. Um, I'm serious. As far as like the black community goes, you don't want to bother with those guys. They're just going to use you, just same as the Chinese, But they're where was I? Oh yeah, he was saying they were trying. Black people were going from one religion to another, and after the Muslim thing, now they're all like original black Jews or something. And it's true that he made a point of it, that it seems like there's an awful large portion of the Negro population that is just so beat down by not having anything to be proud of. And you can say it's because they were oppressed or this or that, but the fact of the matter is that I've heard several of them admit that they know that as far as all the races go, they're the one race that most races all look down on and think, well, at least I'm not black, and it's a sad thing, I know, but if they can get the right perspective on it, they can laugh their way out of prison. If they can understand that people get recycled and that there's a reason why you're black instead of everything being by chance, they can get out. They can get out. They can advance. It's not about where you start, but what's in your heart. If you can get the Spirit, then eventually, sooner or later, you'll rise. And guess what? It is a white God. It's the God of whiteness. And that's the reason why all of these European countries, Christians, who are very pure, and those that came over, to this country were very, very pure. That's why all these white nations did so very well. They weren't letting in the blackness, and I'm not. That's no reference to the Negro, but it's the black culture and the black gods, and there are black gods, kids. But it's not anything you want, unless you were wanting to be dead forever. But if what you wanted was light and life, you still want to go with Christ. What you want to do is you want to be calling out for the Prince of Peace, and instead of praying for things to get better for you and you get more money and this and that and so on and so forth, try praying that He come and live with you, and be with you, and breathe with you, and sleep with you, and walk with you, and talk with you, and see things with you, and be you. And you pray that more and more, again and again, that He more and more is with you, and that you are less and less that other stuff, that you are the day. And you pray for that, and you pray in that way. And you say thank you too, and you're grateful for it. And praise is attention to Him, to His Word, to Him, to thoughts of Him, to pondering the concepts regarding Him, and all that is light. 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 All you need is light. Dun, 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 dun. All you need is light. Everybody. All you need is light. Light. Light is all you need. Because it is love. And I've said there's been really, really horrific times where a guy should have offed himself probably, but I had to lie. And so, could I have like real hope in the physical situation? Not so much, but I knew where I was from, and I know where I'm going, and that makes a big difference, regardless of what you're going through. And if you have that peace, the Prince of Peace with you, and you're more cool than hot, more light than not, then you will see that all the world around you, including the stories of slavery and oppression and this and that, well, it may or may not be true. But there are certain real truths going on that you can observe, and that there is differences between the races, and that there is a caste system at work. I was seeing this the other day. A young black man was talking about it. Of course, he went on to some delusion past that about all the black people were supposed to be rising up to take over or something like that, which is, of course, Lucifer's big delusion. Oh, goodness gracious. And, when you read the book, you think, well, how could any of this happen? Why would these people, knowing full well that they're not the God, go against God, saying they're going to do this and that and rise above God and blah, 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 and show everybody this and that, yada, 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 yada. How could they ever get it in their mind? Well, it's being demonstrated, isn't it? And the thing of it is I'm real sure that they know they can't win. They cannot win. I'm sure they know that by now. But yet still, there's these people out there telling these crazy stories. And the black man, and the reason why I was listening to him, because he sounded reasonable. He spoke of the black thing, of oppression and stuff, which, that is a black thing. Because that Malema guy down there in South Africa, in one of his recent interviews, he was talking about how, so they could win the battle against the oppression. Now, they've been in charge of that damned country for 30 years. For 30 years, they've had control of the finances, billions and billions of dollars. And they run it right down into the damn ground. And people could say, well, it's all the corruption on those leaders have made themselves rich. And, well, maybe so, but you still, with all the money that they've thrown at the electrical problem and the other infrastructure problems, and it's still falling apart, there's something else going on. And you can't say it's because black people are stupid, because we know that's not the truth. You got Dr. Ben Carson, okay? You've got all kinds of black people who've proven themselves to be highly intelligent, highly capable, very respectable, admirable in their accomplishments. So we can't say that it's because they're all lazy, or that they're all unintelligent, or that they're all violent, or that they're all this or all anything. But as a group, left alone, on their own, there's a specific spirit that is basically governing them. And that's why, they talk about, they don't want the white people to leave now. They went on and on about, but they still have the plan of being as racist as possible. It looks like to me. They still have because the communists down there, they want to take that land. And I'm telling you, it'd probably be best for all those white people to leave those lands and remigrate back to Germany and Netherlands, Holland, Austria, British, the Brits, Australia. It would probably be best for them to do that and be in a place where at least they weren't outnumbered 9-1. You see what I'm saying? Because with the attitudes that are showing, and as it's been proven historically, that groups, become mobs, and mobs become moralless and or justified in all that they do. We've seen that again and again. And, especially from some of the most violent people who, but anyway, I think they should leave and but then the reason why they don't want that to happen is because they know what's going to happen. They've woken up now. They know that if all the white people leave, then they're going to become Zambia. They won't have any of that spirit there anymore. They won't have any more of the white God with them, except for any Christians that might be left. But then they're all going to be drowned out. Nobody's. That's the thing is like how well has each of the population policed itself. Um, the only ones who have acted like they're friggin' insurrectionists in this country have been the black people because they have a grievance, and it's because the devil's whispering in their ear that you have a grievance and you have a right to things that you haven't earned. It's the oldest story ever. And so you're justified in being angry. And also, it's just like that rapper, that was in that interview. He said, "Why do he got to a certain level, and he actually began self-examination because when you're in the jungle and you're one of the animals in the jungle, and you're just competing to survive and or get ahead a little bit and make yourself, get yourself a nest going, you don't think about these things. But once he had his nest and everything was looking nice, he asked himself, why do I only think about sex and money? Now, which leads me to Jesse Lee Peterson, who says a lot of good stuff, and I think has helped a lot of people to advance, possibly, or advance in their thinking about the spiritual stuff. Because I have heard him say that um, he has implied basically you have no thoughts, and I don't. If you're a normal human, everyday human, and you're not made up of more than just that single entity, that little one by itself soul, um, then in essence, I don't know, maybe it's correct, but that's, if you ever notice, it's always been depicted, in the stories and cartoons that there's a devil on one side and then an angel on the other, whispering in your ear. And at some point, you see you got to decide to go with the angel, and then you get rid of the devil. And that's what happens once you make a conscious choice. And so then your thoughts are led. And so basically, the choice is, who do you want to be possessed by? Will you give it willingly over to the Prince of Peace, who is of light and life? Or do you say, nah, I don't want to do what that guy says. I will live my life for myself and this, that, or whatever, and I'm in charge. I'm the person. I believe I'm me. Like I used to believe a long time ago. I used to believe I was just me, and I was basically an island to myself. I was a real cowboy. And I was always alone, even whenever I was with someone I loved. Even whenever I was combined, I didn't know it. I was working on combinations I had no clue of. Ooh, child. Things can get better. Um, so I believe that he's absolutely right in as much as you really do. You're either going to be getting your thoughts from one side or the other or both. And that's the choice that you got to make. Where I listened to JLP the other day and decided, nah, he's gone off his damn rocker. Or he's being influenced by darkness. Is basically it was sounding, maybe I perceived him wrong, but it seemed as though basically what he was trying to say was that if you had any emotion, then that means you've got anger. He equates all emotions with anger. He's saying basically that all emotions come from anger. Like you can't have emotions without anger. Well, that tells me he doesn't understand very much at all. He doesn't understand what the water is, does he? Because that's about emotions. And that's something that the Christ can give you. And I can guarantee you that anger is not really an emotion, but instead it's more of an alien entity, a spiritual being, a creature, which is also known as the fallen one, the Prince of Darkness, setting up a home in you and influencing you, speaking to your mind, giving you feelings, and then rationalizations. And if you don't have anger, you can still have love, and you can still have feelings, and you can still be sad, and you can still shed a tear. But now, Jesse would I think, differ on that opinion and say that basically, if you have emotions, it's just anger. And so I think that's only another one of the devil's traps. Yes, it's true that if you have no emotions, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to be manipulated. Okay. So I'm not exactly sure where you're going. Maybe you're escaping the darkness, so you're not having any emotions that manipulate you towards incurring more of it, of sin, and so on. But then, how can you love God? How can you love the light? How can you have joy and feel any concern whatsoever for anyone, anywhere, if you don't have emotions? What differentiates you, if you have no emotions, what differentiates you between a reptile? You really need to think about these things. Anger is the liar. The liar is your enemy. The dragon is not a fanciful, magical creature that is going to make all your dreams come true. It's there to lie to you because it has a use for you, of you, like a Capricorn. Capricorns, their motto is I use. In other words, you have to be useful for them to have value to them. It's, in other words, sort of like a psychopath. But then I wouldn't say that's completely true of every Capricorn. It's just a generalized trait. I use is their. Taurus is I have, like a child, a toddler. Yay, I have, like the sun. Yep, we're into that 21 minutes mark. I hope you've enjoyed our visit, and I really do look forward to things getting better. I really do look forward to some of these predictions that I was given about being able to be with and be around people that actually care about me and like me, rather than, snakes and dragons and spiders and things of hate and I'm telling you, true love, no, again, you know what it feels like to me is one of the, it feels like, hey, have you ever gotten around a bunch of people who are like, we're all bigger and smarter than you, and we're going to take all your stuff. We're going to play a little game called whatever we call it, and it's played like this, and the rules will change as we go. And as a matter of fact, we're not even going to tell you any rules or how it's played. Here's some cards. What do you do? Bet something. And it's all their game played. Have you ever been to a gambling establishment that you couldn't win anything in ever? Like every game was rigged. That's who the devil seems to be to me. And I don't think it has many emotions. I can guarantee you this: it hates. The devils I've known, they hate. They have hate. That they're a friend to anger. Okay, they're of it, and you can feel it in them, and you can feel what they want and they want to happen if you're tuned to it at all. And it is a self-destructive creature. I don't think it has. As a matter of fact, whenever I was talking to one of them, I spoke of. I was having an argument with him about light and dark and good and bad and God and devil and so on. And I came to this point where I was like, look, have you ever loved anyone? Because, I was looking for that universal yes, where they would say, well, yeah, I love blah, 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 or I love my woman, I love my wife, I love my mommy, I love my daddy, sister, brother, or something. And they looked at me and smiled and sort of chuckled to themselves like I just made a joke. They know what hatred is. They know anger. But if you don't have any love within you, how can you love anyone?